Hi everyone, welcome to another video in the series where we will be building an AI agent from scratch. So in this video we will be talking about tool calling and looking at some sample code as well. So before we start, there is a common misconception that when you define a tool and tell the LLM about the tools, the LLM in itself is able to execute the tool and get the responses, but that's not correct. As we all know that LLM is just a token generator, so it can only generate strings or text, nothing else. So the way it usually works is you create a tool is just your function, like it can be a calculator function or a search function, and you tell the LLM what the tool does by giving it a definition, and definition simply means you have a name and description of the tool and then bunch of parameters and it's the same format where that we discussed for the structured output from an LLM. So it has a type and then the properties. Properties is actually a JSON for this object. And by the way, this is we have defined it as an object, but as you saw in the structured output format, it supports both object and arrays. It's a schema for JSON, so yeah, it supports everything. And then you define the required parameters for that function call, and now that's the definition we give to the LLM. And now next time whenever LLM has a question or a prompt that it feels that could be solved easily with the call of a tool, it will give back a response that, yeah, like for example, if I have already defined this calculator tool and told the LLM about this tool, next time I ask it to do some multiplication operation, instead of directly calling the tool, the LLM will come back with a response like, please run the calculator with these parameters. And here is the structured format of response that the LLM will give back. So it's a role of assistant. And instead of content, usually till this point, we only saw that it returns content, which is a string, or it can be a structured JSON as well. But now we see that in this case it has returned tool calls. So instead of directly giving a response back, LLM is saying that, yeah, I need to first call this tool, and it has an ID with a function and the name of function along with the parameters. So let's look at an example code as well. So here I have defined a tool with the same format, calculator, and for now this calculator only performs multiplication operation, and it's all defined in the description field. So this is a really important field. It helps LLM to figure out that which tool it needs to call. And usually when defining your tools, try to keep the name and the description distinct, so LLM doesn't get confused while executing your tool. And don't give really generic names or description for your tools. Alright, so while instantiating your tool or making the call out through the API, since it's a stateless thing, so every call out should also have a tools list, and that's the context. So this will tell the existing capabilities of the agent to the LLM, and then the response we get back from the LLM, it has a tools call and we are simply printing it. So the first question we asked was to perform multiplication, and we expect that it has a tools call return value. And for the second operation, we are asking it to give us a capital of France, and since it doesn't really need any multiplication operation, so ideally it should just answer directly. Alright, so let's execute the function. And since now in this case it's calling a deterministic tool, so the response will be accurate. Alright, so yeah, you see it has called the calculator function with the input values, so no hallucinations now. It simply call the return that, yeah, you need to call this calculator function instead of trying to guess the actual number. And that's really important because now in your agent, the orchestrator, since you have the multiplication tool with the correct parameter, so you can simply execute that function and give back the actual response to the LLM. So notice that till this point we haven't really executed our tool. That's something we'll do in the next chapter. Thank you.